The James Show Podcast.
And here on The James Show, we say no. No, I do not support a Trump third term. Why even bring this up? Well, I mean, I'm not bringing it up. Trump didn't even bring it up. He was asked about it. And I hate it when he does this. He was on the plane. He was on Air Force One going somewhere. And this is from this morning. So the audio is terrible, but it is the most captivating piece of audio you're going to hear on WBAP today. Here he is this morning.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know. But I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. I mean, I just solved 8 wars and a 9th is coming. I believe Russia, Ukraine will happen.
You said that for 2028, they're very good people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? You'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
There you go. We have a great group of people, which they don't. But then he also said in there, I know it was tough, so if you're in a place where you can't hear very well, he also said this guy behind me is pretty good, Marco Rubio standing behind him, and he said if J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio teamed up, they would be unstoppable as well. So it wasn't that, yeah, I'm thinking about it or I'm going to. It's that, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it much, and some people say I can, it might be a good thing, and I don't know. He's not ruling it out. But then at the end there, he kind of said, well, we got a great bench, and they don't. And when he says they, he means Team Blue. And so he was asked about his recent cognitive test that he had at Walter Reed. And he said, not only did I do good, I did great. And I would like to challenge AOC and Jasmine Crockett to do the same battery of tests.
Am I not ruling it out? You'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test. Have her pass, like, the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine... The first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, you know. When you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
All right, now that's a fun challenge to throw out there. I hope they take him up on it. I bet they don't. But when it comes to a Trump third term, no, I'm against it, but I don't think he's really running. In fact, I don't think he really even wants to. But I do think he likes to irritate the exact people that this would irritate. It doesn't irritate me. I'm not losing any sleep over it. Oh, I knew he was literally Hitler. See, I'm trying to tell you. No, the Trump-tard and MAGA people out there didn't believe me, and now they look... Shut up. He's just saying this just to annoy you, if anything else. So what do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Ryan in Highland Park. You're on WBAP.
Hey, what's going on? Let's go Trump all day. 3rd term, 4th term, 5th term, 6th term. Let's make it happen. This guy's the smartest guy that we've ever had in office, at least in my lifetime. He would smoke AOC and that idiot Jasmine Crockett in any kind of cognitive or intelligence test. They shouldn't even be in the conversation. And, yeah, that's kind of where I'm standing with it. What's wrong with this guy? He's running this country the best way that it's been ran in many, many, many years.
So is there no limit to how long any term limits for a president in your eyes?
Hey, make him king of the United States.
So you want to just abolish the Constitution and make him king?
I mean, that's silly talk because that'll never happen. But at the end of the day, if someone's doing the job right, why do you get rid of them? Look at all these CEOs.
Okay, well, then say president for life. Don't say king. King implies that he has...
Well, they want to bring up this no kings protest crap, so I'm going to say let's king him then, just to make all these people upset because they don't know what they're talking about.
How do you square that with your reverence for the precedent set by George Washington with 2 terms?
Well, George Washington was in a lifetime that none of us have been living in. So you can't talk about things that happened that far long ago.
Well, Second Amendment happened that long ago. Did it expire too?
Yeah, everything happened a long time ago. I think there could be amendments to amendments.
All right. Well, what's the expiration date on freedom of speech?
Oh, now you're going to talk about freedom of speech. Freedom
No, I'm just saying, just because something was written in the late 1700s doesn't mean it's obsolete, and it better not, or we're in deep trouble.
Well, that seems to be the direction we're going right now in this country anyways.
So don't we need to turn it around or change it? How would you?
A different guy in the presidency other than Donald Trump right now, what he's been working for and for this country every day? That guy wakes up every morning busting his butt for this country. It's unbelievable what this guy does, and people want to knock him for it on like 3-4 hours of sleep, flying across different countries, putting out wars in the Ukraine and Israel.
No one's criticizing the job he's doing. We're criticizing the fact that he would.
No, a lot of people.
The idea that he would go for a third term. Well, I'm not. So you're talking to me. So talk to me, Ryan. I don't like a third term for Trump or anyone. Would you feel the same way if Obama tried to run again?
Well, Obama kind of had a third term with Biden in there. You know who was pulling the strings with that?
Sure. Well, then why don't you just let Trump do that? Let J.D. Vance run in his stead.
We'll have J.D. Vance. We'll have Marco Rubio come in. If technically we'll have Trump still calling the shots a little bit, advising them or whatever, but it's someone else as
heavily influencing them. Yes. They
all have the same thought process and the way of doing things. So yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. There it is. Ryan in Highland Park. Thank you very much for calling. What do you think about Ryan? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Or you can send me an email, parker@wbap.com. Send me a Facebook message. I would like to hear from more people. What do you think about the idea of a Trump third term? Because I know a whole lot of really pro-Trump people who say, no, two's enough. We don't need to break that precedent because that sounds like something that'll be used against us almost immediately. And welcome to my next guest coming back on from the Heritage Foundation, Preston Brashers. Thank you very much for coming back on the James Show. A couple of things I want to start with. September's inflation report just came in at the end of last week. How would you rate this, good or bad?
I would say maybe a B or B plus. In terms of the expectations, it came in a little bit cooler than people were generally expecting. It's still a little bit higher than most of us would like. Year over year, we're right around 3%, but there has been a lot of that was actually in the first half of the year. So in the first half of the year, you had about 1.4. Actually, in the first 4 months of the year, you had 1.4% of that 3%. So, over month to month, it looked pretty good. At least it wasn't as bad as people were maybe expecting. But again, this is kind of part of the deal when you have the levels of debt that you do, that it's hard to keep the inflation rate down to the 2% that the Federal Reserve targets.
Well, is that going to have a drag on economic growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will kind of long term. It's going to be a drag, but it seems like the economy is still doing pretty well. If you look at some of the quarter to quarter GDP numbers, they look good. The forecasts are looking pretty good going forward. Obviously, the federal government shutdown. That has some concerns about things like air travel and if there's going to be some hiccups there, but overall it seems like the economy's holding out pretty strong, all things considered.
Yeah, and that was kind of the next big question there is GDP growth. Can we keep up the pace that we're at now? Because, I think as long as we keep it in the threes, it's going to be hard for anyone to consider this a slow economy.
Yeah, that's right. I think so. Last quarter, we were not well into the threes. I think early forecasts look at this quarter, maybe the third quarter was there as well, looked like it was going to be there as well. And, I think there might be some short-term hiccups with the government shutdown, maybe artificially pushing things down a little bit in the fourth quarter. But I think overall the economy looks to be doing pretty well. And I think when you consider things like the crackdown on illegal immigration, I think that the fact that you're able to get the GDP numbers where you're at, as you're kind of shrinking some of the labor force as a result of the number of immigrants going down, it actually speaks wonders to, I think, what's going on in the economy actually.
We're talking with Preston Brashers from Heritage Foundation. The market's doing great today, and the rumor says that there's some positive progress between U.S. and China on trade talks. Does that mean we're getting close to the end of these tariff convulsions?
Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine on that one. It seems like it's kind of one thing after the other with the tariffs. It kind of comes and goes, and one country to the next. And so I think it is, a cause for some caution, I guess, as you don't know for sure where these things are going to go. Obviously, Trump is doesn't like to be pushed around, and so if he feels like he's being pushed around, he is going to be one that is going to respond. And so, but it looks like right now, as you mentioned, there may be some progress in terms of the talks with China. As to exactly where that's all going to pan out, I don't know for sure, but I think certainly the worst case scenario seems less likely in terms of the full scale trade shutting down between the two countries.
Yeah, well, we have now the shutdown that's moved past the third week, and the markets don't seem to care. Are we going to get some market shocks if these EBT cards and some other benefits are cut off at the beginning of November? Because that would necessarily pull some spending and demand out of circulation.
Yeah, I mean, we may a little bit, but I think it's going to be. I don't necessarily see any of those things as being big shocks in terms of the market. I mean, I think you'll see people and increased pressure on politicians to make concessions or to have a deal get done. But already we should be seeing some sort of effects because you have some federal workers that are going without pay for a period, and so there's just with those reasons, obviously, you layer on things like food stamps and some of these other payments that may not go out. That'll add to that a little bit. But at the same time, so far the market has been pretty resilient to these things. So it may not be something that you're going to see massive upheaval as a result in terms of what's going to happen in the markets. I don't necessarily foresee that.
Yeah, Preston, I see they're still taking money out of my check whenever I get paid. So they're not that shut down. What if these Obamacare subsidies are allowed to expire as according to the law at the end of the year? Because if there's a rise in premiums, that's going to theoretically chew into people's disposable income. That might take a little bit of spending and aggregate demand out of circulation. What do you think, Preston?
No, I don't see that at all. I mean, if you look at it, it's a pretty small percentage of the population. Obviously, there's a decent chunk that are on Obamacare, but the portion that are going to be affected in terms of having being disqualified from receiving Obamacare, we're talking about a pretty small segment. So yes, there's going to be a handful there, but actually most of the ones that we'd be looking at there, I mean, yes, there's going to be some in terms of cutting off some of the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's a good thing. And then you have some others that are where we're talking about people that are relatively high income, actually, that are able to receive the benefits because of the Biden era COVID expansions. And so I think kind of cutting off the spigot to some of these higher earners of Obamacare, I don't see that as being something that's going to dramatically cut off how much people are consuming. I think most of the people that are kind of benefiting from that are not going to be as paycheck to paycheck, where that's going to have a huge impact month to month on how much consumption we have.
Well, all right, Preston Brashers, I really appreciate the optimism because, I share your optimism. It just feels good to hear someone else say it, especially someone from Heritage. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks, James.
All right. See, so I don't know. Maybe I just like him so much because he sounds like me. But if you're just joining us, he said it on Air Force One this morning. He was asked about it. Sorry about the noise.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know. But I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. I mean, I just solved 8 wars and a 9th is coming. I believe Russia, Ukraine will happen.
You said that for 2028, they're very good people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? You'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
All right. If you couldn't understand that, he was asked about it. He said he hadn't ruled it out. And then he said Marco, who was standing behind him, Marco and Vance would beat anybody who you put up against them anyway. But no, I haven't ruled it out. And that's where we stand. I've been getting a lot of messages on Facebook and the email, parker@wbap.com. James, another James, says, I'm okay with the amendment that was proposed that a third term immediately after the second, as long as the first and second terms weren't congruent. Otherwise, no, Democrats have a tendency to not leave, cough, FDR. Yeah, all right, well, that's a pretty good take on it. What do you think? 800-288-9227. Let's ask David in Bedford. You're on WBAP.
Well, hey, James. Absolutely. I mean, I support President Trump, and he's unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. The hardest working president we've ever seen for the country and for the USA. Yes, Franklin Roosevelt was elected 4 times, and then they passed the 22nd Amendment, and then limits to 2. But if this president right now in midterms, and the Democrats have nothing to run on, has a complete sweep of both House and Senate at large numbers and can propose another amendment to make it happen, why not? It could. That's a possibility. And 2, there are some saying that the 22nd Amendment doesn't say what you think it says. And that there's a loophole there to run for a third term. I don't know. But President Trump can keep his cognitive ability and is turning this country the way it should have never gone and fallen from. In that direction. If it takes him a third term to do it, why not? But he does have good support of J.D. Vance and others, even his own children possibly. We're seeing a renaissance that's going on in this country, and President Trump is leading the way.
So what about George Washington setting the precedent that no president should have more than 2 terms? You're okay with the
President Trump, in the beginning, George Washington was great, too. I mean, they offered him to be king. He said no. No, they didn't have this war for him to be king. And maybe he just flippantly said 2 terms. I mean, why not? I mean, 2 terms, by the time you're the age these guys are and serve 2 terms, you have your farms, you have your family. Maybe 2 terms is a limit. But President Trump looks like he's reached his, he's up there now. He's older. He's pushing 80. Lots of energy. Maybe he'd like to serve another term and maybe die in office. Who knows? But
I'm so interested listening to the people that like yourself, who generally speaking, you're in favor of the Constitution and you're in favor of term limits and you're against tyranny and people acquiring power and holding it forever. But you're making exceptions for this guy. And, I hear, and when I read the history books and listen to audiobooks and podcasts and whatnot, there's a weird duality of there's always going to be people who want to have power forever. Now, the interesting part for me is how do they convince the public that this is good, that you have a dictator for life, or you have a president for life, or you have a king for life. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting watching people's minds be changed in front of me, because my mind's not changed at all. I don't care if it was me. I don't want a third term.
Maybe if you shake the trees hard enough, I mean, President Trump needs to shake some sense in the Democrat Party. So they need to get on the bandwagon of Make America Great Again and have some ideas and say, hey, look, here's how we can do it better. But don't do it in a form of socialism or communism. Join the team. You're the Democrat Party. Put some ideas out there. What would John Kennedy do? Adopt his policies and move forward as the Democrat Party used to do. And nobody ever questioned the loyalty of the Democrat Party until recently.
Well, that's the siren song of socialism, is the idea that you'll be able to live at someone else's expense. You will get a better standard of living because you will use the government to take money and resources from other people and give it to you. So that always makes sense. I mean, it's not rational, but it makes sense why people would accept an irrational policy, because the promises are so good. And if socialism really could deliver that, I'd have a hard time arguing against it. Just you and I both know that hasn't worked out so far. The whole socialism.
America's the shining city on a hill that everybody would love to be part of around the world. And people come here and they expect a lot, and maybe we need to do more to help people achieve their goals. And in life, that as long as you're trying to achieve, and you're never really going to completely fail, and as long as you're willing to work hard and try.
Well, David, do you understand my position to where even if he did everything perfect in my eyes, I still wouldn't want a third term?
That's perfectly fine. I mean, hey, if the American people feel that way, that's great. But I don't want a king either. If Franklin Roosevelt became close to that with four terms, but his policies of from cradle to grave was born.
Yeah, but David, if this had been the lay of the land just a few years ago, Obama would still be president. You understand that, right?
That is true, and that is a scary thought. Maybe hey, I know what you're saying. I understand.
Well, good chat. Thank you very much. That's David in Bedford. I'm against it. I think most people are against it, but I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of people calling in saying they would be for it, and That goes against our mores, that goes against our traditions, that goes against the values that were, term limits weren't originally written into the Constitution for the president, but the precedent was set for the precedent, whatever, was set by George Washington when he voluntarily left power after 2 terms, never to run again. And that precedent was honored by every American president for almost 200 years until stupid old FDR had to go break the rules. And so then we put out an amendment saying, all right, it's 2 terms, it's official. And, that was a great and noble thing. In fact, that is almost unheard of through the history of the world. And he was called the Cincinnatus for that. And Cincinnatus was a guy who got to run the place, his Roman Republic, I think, still for a while when they were doing consuls. So he was put in charge, and then he won. They offered to put him in charge. He said no, so he went out to go farm. And then there was like a civil war. There's a whole other mess with another outside war on top of that. He united the country, went to war, got power again, won again, was offered to run the place past what the term limits had, and he said no a second time. He had even lost his son in the war and still said no. George Washington, same thing. He was offered, the last caller said they offered to make him king. They did twice. They did after the Revolutionary War, which was like 1776 to 1783. Then they had the goofy Articles of Confederation period. And then when the Constitution was actually set out and ratified 1789-ish, because it was a long process. When they started the presidency, they offered him a second time. He turned it down a second time. After drafting the Constitution and being at the forefront of that, he had the reins of power and could have made himself president. He turned it down twice, and he lost his son in the war. I mean, technically it was his stepson, but don't be a jerk about it. Also, he got an MRI, and I asked you before the break, was it a below average MRI, above average MRI, or a perfect MRI?
Did you get an MRI? Can you tell us what
I did. I got an MRI. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. Believe me. Love that guy. Elizabeth and Electra, you're on WBAP.
Hey, Parker. Well, I voted for Trump 3 times. The first time I voted against Hillary. Actually, I was pretty
liberal.
I'm not in tune to no. I've never been liberal. Actually, I don't think I wouldn't have called myself liberal. I've always been registered an independent. But however, I did jump sides one time officially, and it was for health insurance, and I was stupid for that. But yeah, I voted for him 3 times. The second and third time, I voted for him because of his merits. If we're in an emergency, I think the Constitution allows for something, well, maybe not a third term, but it's allowed to extend
No, there's nothing in there for that. No, and that's one of the things that bugs me. There is no emergency clause in the Constitution, but it's talked about a lot. Like in COVID, they're like, well, yeah, I know we're not supposed to tell you can't go to church on Sunday or when and where you can go from point A to point B, but this is an emergency. No, there's no such thing as an emergency clause in the Constitution. Either you can do it or you can't, and they were supposedly not supposed to do that, but whatever.
Okay. Well, I'm for the Constitution, and it's official that it's supposed to be 2 terms. So that's how I feel about it. You follow the law, no matter how much you like the guy, and no matter how good he's for the country, unless everybody votes for it to add an amendment, to add an exception.
Well, I see where you're going with that, and I hear a lot of people who are pro-Trump but against the third term saying that, because the recognition isn't that wouldn't this be good for Trump or wouldn't this be good for the country? It would be, how bad would this be if this new power gets used against you? Because on a long enough time scale, right, exactly. It definitely will. Thank you very, very much, Elizabeth. Good to hear from you. This is Steve in Commerce. Hey, Steve, you're on WBAP.
Hey, you just kind of covered what I was going to say. It would take a constitutional amendment for him to have a third term. So I think it is irresponsible journalism to even consider this, even to bring it up. I don't understand why you're covering this topic.
What do you mean? Because he was asked about it.
But it's stupid to ask people if they think they should support this. He can't run again. So it's a moot point.
Bro, I wish you were right, Steve, because I find most of the stuff we talk about here is outside the bounds of the Constitution and shouldn't even be up for discussion. We shouldn't have a Department of Education. We shouldn't have food stamps. Here we are talking. I've been talking about food stamps like for the last 2 weeks here. You didn't call in on that one. Why are we even having this conversation? This is not in the conversation.
100%.
Well, we have to talk about things that aren't constitutional all the time because they happen all the time. So I'm not going to ignore it and just let it hit me in the face.
Oh, well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to discuss something like this when it's not possible.
Look, that's your point of view. And Steve, don't you at least have
constitutional amendment?
Agreed.
Allow him,
but
you're never going to get that in.
I agree with that too. Now, aren't you kind of fascinated to hear the people explain themselves on how they are open to this?
No, I'm more fascinated listening to you shill for Prize Picks in the midst of an NBA cheating scandal.
Okay. I don't understand how those are connected, but yeah.
I mean, you're doing all these ads for them. Why would anybody get on one of those sites to bet knowing that you've got point shaving going on?
All right. Thank you very much, Steve in Commerce. Can you bet on Prize Picks if Trump will get a third term? You can pick terms. 2 terms. You pick more or less. You can win up to 2,000 times your money with Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Catherine in Grapevine, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Catherine.
Met you at WeatherCon. Loved it. Anyway, you know what? As happy as I am that man is president, he could be the dictator of the United States for the rest of my life, and I'd be tickled pink.
There it is. People calling for tyranny. They just can't.
I'm serious. As good as he's doing, as everything's,
No, see, Catherine, I'm so glad you called. And I don't mean this as a pejorative, but like when I read history and you had the Roman Republic for like 700 something years or 400 years or however long it was, where they didn't have a dictator, they didn't have a king. They were like the only republic in town in the whole Mediterranean. They were doing good with their Senate and their consuls, and all of a sudden Julius Caesar came along and the people were begging, please make him dictator for life. Screw this whole republic thing. We want an empire. We don't want our full complement of rights. We want things to go down the hill and you can inflate our currency and start forever wars. It'll be great.
I know. But, I just can't help but think it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, be self-aware that you are getting caught up in a cult of personality. This is not a rational thought you're having, Catherine.
Oh, come on, James. I know it's not real.
Okay, good. All right. Well, if you're just saying it because other people are going to hear it and get irritated, I actually love that because I think that's what Trump's doing. And yeah. And I think that's what a lot of the Trump people are doing. They're like, I'm going to say this, and this is going to horrify all the right people.
Oh, yeah. I want him to just have a stroke or something.
All right. Catherine's trying to give people strokes over there from Grapevine. Thank you very much, Catherine. Come out to WeatherCon next year. We'll say hi. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Hey, there's a new boycott being called for. Home Depot and Spotify. I'll explain next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.